Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're wrapping up the 2024 NFL Draft from the Rams' perspective, of course. Right now, I have Paul Walia on board. What's going on, Paul?
Doing great, doing great. An exciting draft. Great storylines all around, and the Rams did a solid job.
Yeah, and for everyone's awareness, we're recording this. It's in the middle of the seventh round. The Rams have not made their last pick. When they do, I will update my information here and we'll share that. Maybe we'll predict it right before this pick happens. We are obviously following along. And I may have some other folks join in the middle of this. Let's talk about this draft. So you missed yesterday, but we'll get back to some of the day one and day two picks. Let's focus on day three. And that first pick, here, let me share my information on that fifth round pick, number 154 overall, Brandon Jackson, the edge rusher out of Washington State. And solid pick. And we had talked about this guy, and let me take a step back here and let me frame this because we were texting about this. If there is two themes to this draft, the first theme is the Rams are drafting grown-ass serious men that want to come in and play football from snap to snap and no messing around. And the other theme is defense, defense, defense. And Brandon Jackson fits both of those, right? And I was a little surprised that they went edge again, but hey, I think the Rams must have been actually pretty surprised that he was still there, right, in the fifth round.
Yeah, and if his name sounds familiar, he was a Puka Power pick. We had just done our third installment, and we made not only have we mocked him 3 times, we made sure to highlight him because he is a rock solid prospect. And I think your summary is spot on. He is, and I'll just summarize this very simply as the text I sent to you. So as soon as he gets drafted, I'm excited because I love him as a prospect. And I go on Rams website, and they have his little snippet of his phone conference. So he gets asked, give us a little summary of what it was like when the Rams called you. What did you say? He said, "When should I report?" That says it all. That says it all. This is the type of player you're getting. First of all, he's huge. He's a very solid pass rusher, can bull rush, can bend the edge, as we talked about last time on our segment. But, everything that he brings to the table, he wears the C. He's a team player. He loves the game of football. He's just a positive presence all around. He's going to fit in perfectly. And like he said, coming into that room, which is a crowded edge rusher room, he said competition only makes everyone better. And, everything he said in that probably about a minute and a half that I watched, just to me, perfect fit for the Rams.
Yeah, and that quote I have there for those listeners, I have a quote shared on the screen here. One of the scouts said may have been a general manager for one of the AFC teams, plays as hard as anyone in conference in the Pac-12 he's talking about. And, you have to wonder, the Rams have drafted so many guys, and Field Yates kind of said it. He said, the Rams are not really paying attention to measurables, and they're not over-scrutinizing tape and scouting combine performances. They're drafting football players. They're looking at the tape, and they're drafting players, and they're drafting guys that want to get in and start competing. And it's one of those things like I wonder if all these rookies are going to be competing to see who's first in every morning. Who's the guy that's there at 6 o'clock, and then the next morning someone's going to be there at 5:45 in the weight room, getting ready. This is a really impressive draft class from that perspective. All these top picks, and we'll talk about some of these other guys. They all fit this bill to some degree. Just guys that you want in your locker room, right?
Yeah, I mean, Blake Corum is a great example when they were interviewing him about, and just compare his interview with a lot of the other young kids that are being interviewed. And they're not kids, obviously, but he's already talking about winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You got to love it. In the 2 or 3 minutes he's there, they're asking him all these questions, and he's already talking about winning a Super Bowl. This is exactly what we were talking about. This draft class is 2 words: no nonsense.
Yeah.
They, like you said, they threw out the measurables, they threw out the combine data. They said, let's bring in guys that have done it on the field, that bring the work ethic, bring that Puka mindset that we've been talking about, right? And they're going to bring that into the locker room. They're going to build upon what we've already established. And Blake Corum is an example of that. Brennan Jackson is an example of that. Everybody that they select, Jared Verse is an example of that. If your boy Fisk is an example of that. So I just think,
I think Jordan Whittington is too.
Yeah, Jordan. Yeah, we were talking about that. I went in and I found our mock draft when we had talked about Jordan Whittington, and for those, Ram Nation, for those of you, just a little bit of background on him. He is he used to play running back, an incredible yak machine, big physical wide receiver that likes to block. So I mean, once again, he just fits in. He's a great team player. Never complained about getting the rock when he was at Texas. All he cared about was winning. So
yeah, and someone had said that getting back to Blake Corum, I don't know who it was. One of the evaluators, I think it was on ESPN, said that in all his years covering college football, Blake Corum is the most impressive young man he's ever been associated with. Something to that degree, and he, that's a pretty high compliment. So yeah, we got some good ones. So we go edge, and then we go defensive tackle, and then we went. Let's go back and look at this. I don't want to get this wrong here. We went edge, defensive tackle, running back, safety, and then we come back and get another edge and another defensive tackle, just loading up on defense. But let's go through and talk about each one of these guys. Tyler Davis, defensive tackle. I got the wrong school there. He's out of Clemson. Tyler Davis out of Clemson. Let me take that down and I'll fix it right now. But Tyler Davis out of Clemson is, talk about him a little bit while I fix this. He's basically a run stopper deluxe.
Yeah, that's how they describe him. But some of the other characteristics that we've been talking about. One of the team captains, right? Clemson team captain. So one of the captains, high marks for leadership, stout in the middle, developing his pass rushing capacities. But really good run stopper, can play all 3 spots. Some say he's limited in terms of just really quick and short areas, but long speed is pretty, like in terms of going after the quarterback is somewhat limited. Pass rushing repertoire is somewhat limited, but listen, he's got the basics down. He's got the leadership qualities that the Rams prioritize, and he's also good against the run. Everything else can develop over time.
If I get back to this slide, I got it fixed there for you. And then we got Joshua Carty. And we had gone back and forth. I think you were against drafting a kicker, and I think Tom was kind of on the fence about it. I early on had been arguing for a kicker, and I just tell you, say what you want about drafting a kicker. This feeling of calm overcame me when the Rams made that selection. It's because this guy's, he's consistent. He's got a big leg. He's got a high arc. I don't think there's any doubt that he can be successful in the NFL. Hey, it may be, he's still got to prove it. Still got to kick in the clutch, click in bad weather, all those other things. But I don't know. I'm not opposed to this selection at all. You probably are. Am I?
Hey, listen, look. As long as they don't take a punter in round 4? I think we're okay. So, and no knock at taking a punter around 4. The kid from Iowa, I'm sure he's plenty fantastic. But Carty is considered the best kicker in the class. He can boom it legitimately from 50 plus. Good accuracy all around. The bottom line with all the college kickers is that when you go the transition to the NFL, you got to do it in the clutch moments. That's that defining sort of characteristic. You have to be clutch in the NFL.
Oh, by the way, as we're recording this, two of your guys, Taj Washington and James Williams, have been drafted. You probably
And
saw that, but yeah,
Devonshire
oh,
also.
right. Yeah, guys we really liked. Now, Whittington, we talked about him a little bit, and I was not really that familiar with him, but the take on him appears to be his teammates love him, and the reason they love him is he'll do anything to help his team. If that's blocking, if that's tough catches over the middle, he does the dirty work. Not
And
the greatest.
a former running back, he brings that physicality, the physicality that we've been talking about for a long time to the as a wide receiver.
Yeah, and I didn't include it here, but let me get the numbers on him. You know, you talk about the size of Cooper Cup and the size of Puka Nakua, and there's Jordan Whittington, 6'1", 205 pounds, right in that wheelhouse of the new Ram wide receiver model.
Everywhere, I'm wide receiver, right?
That can, and these guys can block. They're pretty good with the ball in their hands, and outstanding teammates. And I think Whittington fits that perfectly. So, hey, 6th round, if this guy can come in and make the team, it's going to be a competitive wide receiver room. We still don't know what's going on with Tutu, because Tutu's the one guy that doesn't fit that model. But we'll have to see.
So I'm so glad you brought up Tutu. So after they drafted our buddy Cam Kinchins, so Cam, they have a live feed, Cam from his phone, wherever he was. Guess who's on the call with him on the video feed? Tutu.
Oh, yeah. They were high school teammates, is that right?
Tutu was his high school quarterback, and they're like sort of best friends. So I guess Tutu's going to be staying with us for a while. He's not going anywhere. And I mean, Cam was smiling from ear to ear. Tutu was smiling, and this might light a fire under Tutu, right? And this is exactly what we're talking about. And the example I want to cite is when everything happened with Fisk, and everybody was saying, "Oh, they gave up too much. They gave up too much." Not. I would say about the very next. I would say within a couple of hours, this video segment comes out about Verse and how happy he was that Fisk was going to be there. But even more importantly, they had the call from Snead, and he told him, he's going to get drafted by the Rams. You want to know what Fisk's response was? You mean I'm going to be playing with Jared again?
Right.
And he's ready. He's almost jumping off the couch. And that's exactly what we're talking about. So this example with Kinchins and Tutu, this example with Verse and Fisk, these guys want to play together. That they respect one another. Verse's comments about Fisk, I've never met anybody I could actually say this about, but he works as hard as I do. Right? Yeah. That compliment alone shows you why these two guys respect one another. And don't forget, Fisk played with Marshawn Nealon, a very, very respected prospect in this year's draft over at Western Michigan. Yeah. So, that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the Rams knowing this and making the right move, even though people say they gave up too much. But what is the cost of having your number one draft pick, right, who's literally, jumping out of his shoes, and now your next draft pick, right, who's jumping out of his shoes because they get to play with each other, right, on the same team. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's definitely worth it. The psyche aspect of it, developing that will to win, that's, you can't put a price tag on that. And that was the right move. So if they had to pay a little bit more, so what? So be it. But these two guys are ecstatic. The Kinchins move, I mean, I definitely was probably purposeful, knowing that Tutu had that background. So, and he's a great player as well. Once again, he had a horrible combine. And, we had talked about it when we were talking about prospects. They threw those combine numbers out the window. They said, listen, you throw on the tape, this kid plays. This kid plays hard, and he hits like a ton of bricks, and he makes, he gets those turnovers. He gets those INTs, and he loves to tackle. So the physicality aspect, everything about this kid to them said he belongs on the team. Yeah. So, and that is the theme.
And Lewis Reddick, I don't know if you caught his response to the Rams drafting Kinchins. He said he's a future Pro Bowler. So there you have it. Hey,
Yeah, a
Tom
lot of people
Courts.
say that.
Yeah, Tom Courts joining us. What's going on, Tom?
Oh, hey guys. Let me try to get my headset in here 1 second.
Yeah, so now let's talk about Bo Limmer, interior offensive line. And I think I had been arguing more than anybody on the roundtable group for depth on the interior. I think this is a solid pick just for that reason alone. Obviously, hey, the Rams can evaluate all these interior offensive linemen and they figure out who fits best. But we needed a body there for sure. And Limmer seems like he's got a lot of starts in the SEC. And so far, by the way, he's our only SEC guy. How do you feel about the Limmer pick? We talked about him a little bit, right?
Yeah, I went back and I checked. We actually had him in one of our mocks. I checked his ADP. He was coming in at 155, between 155 and 165 when we picked him. That was about a month ago. So, the fact that they got him at 217, it is just exceptional value. An SEC interior lineman, Mark, is there any downside to that?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Right?
So,
and he could fill in 3 positions.
Yeah, I wanted to, before we moved on, I should have mentioned the drafting Whittington. Hey, Tom's back on.
Hey, guys.
Hey, so let's look at this wide receiver room for a little bit. We got 3 guys that we know are going to be there for sure, Puka, Kupp, and Demarcus Robinson. Now, injuries can always happen. I get it. After that, we have Tutu, Tyler Johnson, Ben Skowronek, and you throw in Jordan Whittington. Am I missing anybody? It's going to be a pretty competitive room. If everybody stays healthy, maybe we carry 7 wide receivers. But very, very possible someone's going to be on the outs. So we'll see. Whittington. It seems like they drafted him with a purpose. He fits that model. And
what do you think about this? We were talking about returning kicks. The kid is a former running back.
Right.
The kid is tough as nails. Right. So this being his redshirt year, right? How perfect would that be if he can handle those duties as he's developing and working with Coach Yarber?
Hey Tom, you missed our discussion about Cardi. You were not opposed to drafting a kicker. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, I wasn't opposed to it. I mean, there were some good ones this year, right? There's some of the better, one of the better kicker class, Reichard and Hardy and the kid from Arkansas. So, they kind of went all in a big bunch there within 10 picks. And then I haven't really looked in the 7th round, but I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I was telling Paul that I just know I was overcome by the sense of calm when they drafted Cardi. One less thing to stress about, hopefully. Hey, Scott's joining. Hey, Scott, what's going on?
Hey there.
Yeah, we just been bouncing through these later picks, and we talked a little bit about Tyler Davis, Joshua Cardi, the wide receiver, Whittington, and Rams are about to pick. There are a few picks off. The 49ers are on the clock as we're speaking. So, Tom, are there any picks that you kind of not feeling real strong about, or?
No, I mean, I like Davis. He's a big body guy, good against the run, not anything, just the reason he drops is because he's just not, and, cannot get to the quarterback at all. And so, for us, it's that kind of Ashawn Robinson position that Bobby Brown's been kind of filling in at. And we're early down where they're in more of a, 7-man, 7-man front, I guess. And on rundown. So it's, that's what they classically played. And then they go to their nickel. So anyway, so he, Brown, I think, is a free agent this year, if I'm not mistaken, after this year. And so I think that's what they're doing. They're just drafting their next kind of nose tackle to play the run. Best case scenario if he pans out.
Hey, you got. I was going to mention. I was just going to get back to Brennan Jackson since you guys missed it. If I remember, Scott, weren't you a big fan of his?
Yes, yeah, very big. I think we picked him in our one at Mock 12. I think we did.
Yeah, and what I was telling Paul before you guys joined is that this is just another indication of the Rams just picking, serious football players. And he, just like the first three picks, this is our first four picks. And here's another guy that just wants to come in and play football, and I think he's going to get it done for us. So let's see. Let's move back to these sixth round picks: Tyler Davis, Joshua Carty. Scott, do you have an opinion on Jordan Whittington?
No, I've been doing a little research on him this past hour. I got a gut feeling he may kind of fill a role the way Skoranek did. Came in, was about fourth wide receiver, was more of a special teamer, kind of a specialty guy on offensive sub packages. So that's my gut feeling. He is good with the ball in his hand, so maybe they may try him as a returner on kickoffs, possibly.
Yeah, that was Paul's guess too. That's exactly what Paul thought might happen. And he's a really good blocker, just a great teammate. All those great things they said about those day 1 and day 2 picks. Hey, who was it that told me? This is kind of bothering me a little bit. Did someone tell me that Joshua Carty is a big 49er fan? Did I hear that somewhere?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we put an end to that.
At his interview, that's what he said.
Oh, geez. I wonder what that's like. I mean, I can't imagine, if I have to suit up in a 49er uniform and kick a game-winning field goal against the Rams, I may just purposely shank it and walk off the field. I'm done.
Yeah.
My work here is done. Hey, there are a lot of guys like that.
There are a lot of guys like that. Going back to Whittington, I mean, this is a guy who was a 5-star recruit out of Texas. He had offers to go to a lot of places. He ended up staying in this home state. He never really fulfilled his potential at Texas, and he's had some injuries and so forth. But very kind of reminiscent of who's our 6th round running back draft pick last year.
Zach Evans.
Zach Evans, yeah, same thing. He was a highly touted running back prospect out of Texas, and just never really panned out in college. And so very similar model there. But Whittington, I had posted earlier on X that I read that he broke the state rushing record in the state championship game. And the guy's record who he broke was Eric Dickerson. So
right.
It's like pretty crazy stuff. And then you have like Corum, who was, whose dad played for the Rams apparently at one point. And so you get these guys. It's just uncanny how there's these little linkages to the Rams. It's with the two guys that are
and
their
Kitchens played football with Tutu. Tutu was the quarterback.
Oh, right. Yeah, Tutu. Yeah, it's great. So all these linkages, small world.
And Blake Corum's first youth football team was the Rams as well.
Was the Rams. Yeah, he said that in his interview.
Yeah.
I love it.
And for those of you, Ram Nation, take a look at Whittington. Look at the work he does on screens. Not just blocking, but when he gets the ball in his hands, he goes into running back mode. He is just absolutely wicked on those screens.
Hey,
those quick hitters.
So sorry to interrupt, but the Chargers are on the clock. The Rams are on deck. And a good time to have this up on the screen. I tried to map needs. I could have we talked about this yesterday. I could have every position up here. I don't have offensive tackle. I don't have cornerback. Whoa, we lost someone.
That was me.
But
my apologies.
But the Rams. What do you think, Paul? What are the Rams going to do with this last pick? They're on the clock right now.
Oh my gosh, they can go in any direction. Let me think.
I don't know what's available is a problem, but tight end or tackle would be a good option, I think.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Linebacker even.
Yeah, right.
Linebacker tends to have a lot of value in the latter part of this particular draft. By the way, the Chargers took Rice. Tom and I
Oh.
were texting back and forth, but so the Chargers took Rice.
Oh, okay. Well, good for him.
Yeah.
I know they show that must be so painful sitting surrounded by your family, waiting for your name to get called, and it's the seventh round. And wow, but yeah, we'll see that pick will pop up here in a second. But I tried to map, what the Rams have done, and this kind of captures everything they've done so far with one pick remaining. And hey, we knew they were gonna. Our mock drafts, it became evident that we had to go defensive line, double dipping, and maybe even on the edge too. And that's what they did. It kind of followed suit, I think, to what we expected, except maybe a lot of people thought they were going to draft an offensive tackle. And I thought they'd draft a linebacker. And with the tight end situation is still a little bit troubling. Is there an area that you think they should have addressed earlier, Scott?
I thought they could have. I thought there was a good chance they might go linebacker in the 6th round, but I'm not too sure what direction they were going. So I was hoping for either linebacker or cornerback. A 6 foot or taller cornerback is what I was looking for.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to go corner now.
Cornerback. It'd be nice if Davenport was there.
You know what was interesting? I thought the Rams were going to definitely trade back from that 99 because that 99 was such a late third. I thought they would have just moved back into the 4th and maybe try to pick up another pick. So it was interesting.
Actually,
that was like the only one area that I thought.
I just realized that your guy, according to CBS Sports, Dwight McLeathern, the cornerback that you like, Scott, was still available. Gabriel Murphy, I don't think we're going 3rd edge, and then Leonard Taylor, defensive lineman. I don't think we're going 3 defensive linemen though.
I like Josh Porter. I like that safety. He has an interesting profile, and if we could, I liked him early in this. I liked him in the 6th.
Is that Proctor or
Josh Proctor from Ohio State?
Josh Proctor.
Yeah, Josh Proctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, we'll find out.
Doesn't he remind you of Fuller a little bit?
Yeah. I like. Yeah, he has a good profile. He has some upside. We'll see what happens, but that's who. I like that James Williams, but he got. I think the Titans took him. But anyway,
Scott,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Scott made a good point yesterday in that the Rams have a lot of. They don't have a lot of cornerbacks on contract beyond 2 years out, so that would be an argument for drafting a cornerback and locking them up for 3 years or something. But this is our draft class so far. I got Tyler Davis's name school wrong on this slide as well. I fixed it on the other. He's out of Clemson, but heavy on the defense, especially early. Pretty good overall. Pretty good draft class, right? Can't complain. Paul, you missed our grading session yesterday, right?
Yeah.
How would you grade out the going back to rounds 1 and 2? How would you give grades to for the Corum, Verse, Fisk, and Kinchin selections?
Oh, I think because of the whole Verse Fisk combo, I would have to give them an A. Getting Verse at like I said, getting Verse at the 19 without having to pull off any trade or give up any draft capital, I just think that's like beyond a best case scenario. So for sure, and getting the two to play together. Being able to get Fisk and Verse play together and just seeing their reactions before Tom and Scott were able to log on, I was sharing with Mark the reaction when they told Fisk that he was coming to the Rams, and his reaction was, "I get to play with Jared again," and I'm just like, dude, that's exactly what you want to hear, man. These two guys, and Jared, when they told him that Fisk was coming, they actually wanted Verse to make the call. And he got stuck in traffic. Poor guy got stuck in traffic. So Les Snead had to make the call, but they were going to have Verse make the call. But little things like that, I think, make a difference. They really do, and they make a difference. And these two guys wanting to play together, that's what it's all about, And Blake Corum, I'm all in on Blake Corum. Tom and Scott, I was just sharing that. At his interview, he was already talking about winning a Super Bowl. He's not even physically, he hasn't even reported yet. And he's talking about winning a Super Bowl with the Rams. That's the kind of kid you're getting. And, that's the kind of engine that he has driving his machine. But just think about that. When Kyron's on the sideline, there's no drop off. And Mark, remember when we did our last mock, when we were talking about running backs, and why I wanted to draft a running back, is that one thing stood out to me is that every time Kyron wasn't on the field, you saw that drop off. And no knock against the other running backs, but you definitely saw the drop off in the offense. Now, Blake, although he's a different type of running back, that's exactly the difference now. There's no drop off. It's an extension of that running game. It's just going to be even more lethal. So, I like Blake Corum. Listen, he's proven it at the highest level, national championship at Michigan. Power running game they had going down there, and he was a big part of that. So, and listen, the work he did in the red zone, it's just absolutely bananas, the numbers he threw up in terms of rushing touchdowns. He can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Our pick is in for our final pick.
Yeah,
KT Levinson from another guard from Kansas State.
Oh, from Kansas State. Okay.
They show him on CBS Sports as a tackle. You see him as a guard. He's 6'5".
I see him on ESPN as a guard, but I like those guys that are swing guards, the bigger guys, Yeah,
I already added him. I was poking around on this slide here. KT Leviston, offensive tackle out of KSU. Paul, you got any inside information on this guy?
I got to say, that's one that stumped me. So I'm going to have to go into the database right now and take a look. KT Levinson, all right.
Yeah. Well, they did go offensive tackle event. It was a little surprising to me. I really like Mel Kiper. He's one of the more entertaining guys. I know he knows his stuff, but I'm not going to compare him to other analysts. But I swear for the last 3 days, he's had cornerback and offensive tackle as the two needs for the Rams. And I didn't quite get it. I mean, yeah, you need everything, but I certainly wouldn't list those as the top two needs. But so we're done here. We got 4 players on the offensive side, 5 players on the defensive side. I think the front end of the draft was obviously defense. And then we got our kicker, and I feel really good about that. But so Scott, any final words on the draft, how the whole thing went down, and how do you feel about this draft class?
Well, coming in a little bit understaffed on the front 7 defensively. I got to give him an A-. I mean, other than not getting another inside backer, I thought getting 2 edges and 2 inside guys, I think is awesome. Verse and Fisk together as teammates, I can just foresee a lot of what's that play where they reverse positions? The inside guy goes outside, the outside goes in.
You mean like a stunt and twist?
I can't wait to see those two stunt against some of the NFC West teams. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, you go into this draft and we know a lot of national writers don't get it, but we knew what the Rams needed, and they went out and got it. So, Tom, what's your gut feeling about this entire draft class?
I love it. I love this draft class. I love the maturity. They went for older guys that are, who's the guy? He already has an MBA. Another guy, Corum has
Brennan Jackson has the
Brennan Jackson. I mean, they're all these guys are just mature guys who have had a little bit of adversity, whether it be with injuries that they've just persevered through, or smaller schools that like Verse and Fisk, and then they came up to the bigger schools. I mean, it's just it seems like they're really intentional about the profile of the player and not just the profile of the person and not just the profile of the athlete. And it's really interesting. I think the Rams have always been a little bit on the cutting edge of this kind of thing. And analytically and so forth, they may be onto something. I mean, I think they historically like the Senior Bowl players, but now it seems like they're almost taking it to another level.
You want
Yeah,
an illustrative example? So remember last year, everybody was talking about Monster Zero and how he worked at Dollar General before he got drafted.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So when they were
Yeah.
interviewing Jack, you gotta love this kid Verse, man. He's so honest and so real in his discussions, right? So, and they were talking, and he was sharing about like his mental makeup, and they were asking him about that, and he's like, I never had anything given to me. I had to earn everything. And he says, when I was at Albany, I was doing DoorDash and working for Amazon. And I immediately thought about Monster Zero when they were talking about Dollar General. I said, there you go. And just like what Tom was saying, that profile, right? And you could just see that illustrative example right there. Bingo. These older players, right?
And of all of, and that's one of the reasons I think that a lot of these first round guys that are just these elite athletes, 5-star out of high school, go to a big college, have all these accolades. And now, especially NIL isn't going to make things any better. Right now, they're going to be rich also, and they're going to have everything, just kind of handed. Everything they just their whole lives, they have had everything just come to them easy. And you get to the NFL, and it is it can be. I think that's why there's a lot of busts, and a lot of these guys don't have their head on straight. They're not starters anymore. The coach isn't talking to them, and next thing you know, they're not studying the playbook because why should I? If they don't care about me, why am I going to care about them? And then, bam, somebody goes down in week 8, and their number gets called, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And now all of a sudden the coaches are like, oh, this guy, he can't even play. He doesn't even know the playbook. He said, and so I don't know. I think we got to remember these guys are young, like 21, 22 years old. And it's smart to get guys that have proven maturity. Especially guys, when you're in a competitive environment, you have to prepare to be a backup. You have to be you're a backup, and you have to prepare and so forth. Look at Corum, right? I mean, Corum won the Big Ten's version of Man of the Year. They give it to one male athlete and one female athlete across all sports in the Big Ten. One guy gets it and one woman gets it, and he won it. That's crazy, right? I mean, these are guys. I forgot the name. It's not called Man of the Year, but it's their version of it. And he has a real estate company. He's already has a real estate investment company. I mean, these are just super strong, mature people.
Yeah, I think he does a lot of charity work already, handing out
charity
food
work.
Yeah,
he's handing out turkeys the day after he, can't play in the Ohio State game or something. I don't know. It was, it was crazy.
Yeah, Field Yates, I don't think you guys were on Tom and Scott yet. And I talked to Paul a little bit about, I think it was Field Yates that commented on the Rams, and he said some of these scouts, some of these teams, they look at the measurables, they look at the tape over and over again, they look at the combine, and they find little flaws and little things that they're concerned about, and the Rams just look for mature football players. And if they look at the tape, you can play football and you're a serious guy, we're going to draft you, and it's working.
It's like my dad used to say. He says, "Look, I'm going to treat you like a man. Don't embarrass yourself." And that's exactly right. Bring in these guys that have that sort of mental makeup. Treat them accordingly, and watch them rise to the occasion. I think it's a great philosophy, and I think more teams should really take a look at that.
Okay, before we wrap this up, the Rams are going to sign a bunch of undrafted free agents.
Yeah.
What is the one biggest concern moving forward for this team? I'll start with you, Scott.
Oh, I think getting a cornerback with length. That if Witherspoon doesn't come back, I think they need to get a cornerback in the 6'1", 6'2" range.
Okay.
To put in that room. How
about you, Tom?
Yeah, I think I wanted to see linebacker and safety. I mean, there's a couple of we drafted Kitchens, obviously, but we still need some depth there. Still not happy with our depth there. And I don't even really Quentin Lake, we all like, but I don't really view him as a traditional safety. He's really more of like a,
Star slot.
that star, that star that Ramsey played and so forth.
I think that's what that Kinchin pick does for us, though. We talked about it yesterday a little bit. It alleviates that concern to some degree. We can leave Quentin Lake where he is, hopefully. But yeah,
well, Lake has really excelled in the star role,
right?
So we can leave him there. And Kitchen, I agree. Kitchen goes back and plays, plays the ball hawk safety, which he's really good at. But we just don't have any depth after him, and I just don't think Russ Yeast provides that. And that's really all there is. We don't know what the other guy that we drafted last year, Jason Taylor, can do. Right? He didn't really get on the field, so I think we can get a safety and linebacker are the two positions for me that we really can load up on, and when people have a chance to get on the field. And those happen to be very good special teams players, as well, usually. And so when guys have a chance to get on the field as these UDFAs, then that typically is attractive to them. They like to go to teams that, they offer them a little bit of money, but more than anything, give them a chance to play when the depth chart is a little light.
How about you, Paul? What's your biggest concern moving forward with this draft behind us now?
Yeah, I'd probably a couple of ways they could go. A little bit more O-line depth. Definitely another D-back, particularly at corner, and a linebacker. I'm just looking at I already got my UDFA tracker going, and there's some really nice names on here. Whether or not they'll wind up with the Rams is a different story, but there's some really nice names on here. Jalen Coker, the sleeper wide receiver, he's on here. Blake Watson. Yeah, Gabe Hall is on here.
Oh, wow.
So it's interesting. So I think it's going to be fun, but that's just another part of the process. The Rams do a nice job of signing UDFAs, and we'll see who they grab. And then you got phase 2 and phase 3 of free agency right around the corner. Before we sign off, I just want to give a couple of quick shout outs. Players that we've been talking about for probably 2 months now, whether it was through the Puka picks or through the mock drafts. So congratulations to the kid Stiggers, the one we were talking about from the CFL. He got picked up by the Jets, round 5. We know his story for those of you that haven't had. He went through a tough time, and talk about making a great comeback. What a quality kid. And, shout out to him and his family. All the best. 2 Long Island kids, Dylan Lauby and Matt Gonzalez. Gonzalez went in the 3rd round to Indy, pick number 79, and Dylan Lauby right here from West Hampton, he went to the Raiders, round 6, 208. Congratulations to them representing Strong Island. Mad Max Melton from Rutgers. He went, can't believe we got to play against him, Mark. He went to Arizona, round 3, from New Jersey, representing the Scarlet Knights, and one of my personal favorites, Adisa Isaac. He went to the Ravens, round 3, pick 93, representing NYC, Brooklyn, Queens. Like we were talk about a great story. Works with special needs children. When he was at Penn State, that was his job. He volunteered, and it was part of his internship as well. He worked with special needs kids. He comes from a family background. A couple of his siblings have special needs. Just a quality kid all around. He was the player that was designated when there was a player that was having trouble adjusting to the team, or whatever was the regimen, or working with coaches. They asked him to sort of serve as a mentor. So quality kid, and congratulations to him. So a couple of shout outs from everybody here at Rams Up.
Yeah, and I think we need to give a shout out to ourselves, man. On our mock drafts, we did really well. There's a lot of guys that we nailed, that we mocked to the Rams at one point or another, and I think we got the flow down. I think we came to a consensus. It was going to be something like edge and defensive tackle and another defensive tackle and a safety. Maybe, I don't think we were really on a running back that early, but we didn't nail it perfectly. But I think we had a pretty good pulse of what the Rams should do and did do. So, and I'm going to agree with whoever it was that said, I think I'm being a little bit greedy, but I would just love for the Rams to add a dynamic linebacker at some point.
Yeah.
We have another dynamic linebacker. Seems like we're always stuck with one dynamic linebacker and then two or three other guys that can kind of get it done. Not to besmirch Christian Roseboom and the Troy Readers of the world. They play hard nosed football, but I would just like to have a pair of linebackers back there at some point.
Yeah, if it weren't for Bobby and Ernest last year, or the year before last, we would have things would have been pretty rough, right? I mean, those guys really held down the fort for us.
Yeah, right.
Hey, one thing that was glaringly missing from this draft is cornerback, right? And but I think the Rams may have learned their lesson, especially Snead and McVay as a team. Like, has Snead and McVay ever, during the McVay era here, have they ever drafted a quality
corner?
They haven't drafted one. Like I went back and looked. I mean, David Long, is that the best corner they've drafted? And
I think they drafted him. Didn't they draft him in like the 3rd round or something like that? He was pretty high.
I mean, there's been a lot of guys that have been drafted early by the
never really panned out.
They have not. I think cornerbacks they're just not good at it, and they're just like, let's go get just free agent. I mean, certain position groups where they're just saying, we're going to get free agents and screw it. And that's one of them. And because when we rely on drafting, Kobe Durant and Trey Tomlinson and Gary and Kendrick and, the list goes on, right? Who was it's just, you can name probably 8 guys they've drafted that have not been good. And
so you think Witherspoon spoiled them? Is that what you think? Probably the Witherspoon experience, right?
Right. It's just like, hey, we can go get these guys on the street, and for 10 million or whatever, 5 to 10 million or less. I mean, just do that, versus deal with these guys and just, apparently, I don't know, for them the tape just doesn't translate. And I think cornerbacks are one of the position groups that are the hardest, or they have the least. The worst hit rate. I don't know however you want to say it. That may mean that they're the hardest to assess going from college to the pros, but I think they have the highest bust rate for early draft picks. Defensive backs do. So, I think that's really interesting. And now, obviously, they're aware of their poor performance at drafting cornerbacks, and they just stayed away. They're just, why are we going to do that again?
Plus they signed 2 quarterback free agents.
Well, no, I think they decided that before the draft, right? They decided they decided to go sign guys and then not draft anyone. And whereas with like defensive linemen and so forth, they're pretty good at it, right? So the trenches, let's draft trenches and leave the other stuff for free agency. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Let's close with one last question, and I'll go first on this one. What was the biggest surprise? And the biggest surprise to me was Corum, and I'm not opposed to it, but I just didn't think they'd go running back that early. And surprise 1B, if I'm doing my math here correctly, we drafted 4 players from the ACC, which surprised me. Miami's in the ACC, is that correct?
No.
They're not.
Oh, ACC, yeah. ACC, yes.
So we
Clemson.
got Clemson, 2 Florida State, and a Miami. So
Miami. Yeah, right.
Yeah, ACC led the pack. What was your biggest surprise, Scott?
Oh, I think it was Corum, not because of the position, because of the player. I just didn't follow him at all, but I'm okay with the pick. Pretty excited.
I kind of disregarded him because I just didn't think the Rams were going to go run. I figured he was going to be a 3rd roundish type guy, and the Rams wouldn't draft a running back that early. Tom, what was your biggest surprise? We're all going to say Corum.
We're all going to say Corum. We didn't think they were going to draft a guy that early, and and also because he's such a big name. Win the national championship, just a very scored all those touchdowns, just a very prominent figure in terms of popularity and notoriety and so forth. and and so his name was very just everybody's aware of him. So
Yeah.
when it came across the wire, it was like, whoa, what? So it was
Yeah.
more of a shock value. But like once I said, like I told you guys on the text string, once I slept on it, I kind of thought back to what Paul had said, which was, hey, if they draft a guy early, that'll commit McVay to the run because he has no excuse now, right? You can't say,
Yeah.
well. So and we all want to see him commit to the run. And I think he is committed to the run. I think and I think Corum and Kyron will be a good duo.
Yeah, my special assistant texted me. He may have stole this from someone, but he said if you squint real hard when you're watching Corum, you'll see Kyron Williams. So Paul, I want your surprise of the draft, and you have to go somewhere besides Corum. What was your second biggest surprise?
Oh, the biggest surprise of the draft was that Verse was available at 19.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what NFL teams are looking at that kid was available at 19. I mean, I'll be hard pressed for somebody to tell me there were 18 players better than Jared Verse. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I remember way back when we were doing our mocks, you said Verse was your favorite edge rusher. Although I think you said maybe Dallas Turner, but we were discounting him, his availability. And most of the mocks, it was Verse was gone. Let's take Latu. That's kind of how it went down.
Yeah, he never got past 13. And, we said, my rationale was simple. That name another strong side rusher in this draft besides Latu. It was Latu and Verse. That were pretty much it. Yeah. On that side, at that level that we were talking about. So
yeah, and if I had done more homework on the personality and the individual, which I just don't have time to dive into all these players in that regard, I might have suspected the Rams were going to do everything they could to get a guy like that.
And I love the smoke screen when everything came out. The Rams were just trying to draw everybody away from their actual pick. I just thought that was awesome.
You mean flying out to see Chop? Was that part of it?
Yeah, they said all that. Everything that they did was actually all part of that equation. So yeah, I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah, and that's why I wonder how true some of those rumors going around about Brock Bowers, how true they were. We'll never know. Well, maybe we will, but I just find it hard to believe that the Rams would let that out to anyone.
Yeah.
But okay, guys, thanks a lot. Good stuff, man. Good draft for the Rams. Really happy with this draft group. And man, take the next step. See what undrafted free agents we can add. And we'll have another talk. I'll sync up with you guys Monday or Tuesday night. We'll get at it again, and maybe look at the depth chart. See who's what current Rams jobs might be at risk, and be a lot of fun. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
And now we can tell, for those of you that don't know, Ian is actually in the backyard practicing kicks because we weren't sure if the Rams were going to take a kicker, so we can bring him back in now.
Yeah, I think Ian might have been at the draft party. I know he's been
nice.
Yeah, so I completely understand him not joining. I know weekends are tough for him. That's why we have the round table during the week. But okay, guys, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Out here.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.